Story 1. Just getting up out of bed. There are so many times I wanted to just sleep away everything, but it feels so good to just get up and clean, make a nice meal, take a nice hot shower, just getting up and doing anything. Everything feels just a tiny bit better, even just for a few minutes after doing any of those things. Story 2. My mental health is particularly bad today. I keep crying, and I have a feeling of dread in my body that something bad is going to happen. I have pretty much all I need: 2 gorgeous cats and a roof over my head. I am absolutely broke money-wise, but scrape by. I do a gratitude list. I still feel wretched and lonely but hate going out, especially after 8 p.m. I am reading all your messages to try and see what you are all doing to help your mental health. Story 3. Moved my bedroom around at 2 a.m. during a panic attack. Sounds weird, but rearranging everything gave me this weird sense of control when everything else felt like it was falling apart. Plus, waking up to a completely different room somehow helped reset my brain. Story 4. Allowing myself to just be. All my free time during tough times is spent recharging, lying in bed, doing what my brain wants me to do instead of feeling like I need to be accomplishing or doing something. I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to wash the dishes. Tomorrow. The brain needs time to recharge. Story 5. Talk. Talk to friends, family, a therapist, a dog, a stranger. Just talk. Keeping it in doesn't help. Even if it's the same thing, the more you talk about it, the more you process it. Also, take care of yourself. Sleep when you can. Take a walk. Take a bath. Do something you love for yourself. Story 6. Edit. I extended my short-term sobriety 1 month at a time until I reached 1 year. My life didn't go to pieces in 1 month. Thank goodness. In 2021, I decided to extend my short-term sobriety by 1 month until I reached a year. During that time, I moved. The man I was ready to spend my life with left me. I did very poorly in a physical goal I was training for, and my grandmother died. As someone who will say, forget it, and reach for the bottle at the slightest inconvenience, I managed to stay sober through all of that and made it the year. Story 7. I made a habit of opening the blinds or curtains in the morning. Something about starting my day with the sun began to slowly shift my perception of life. Story 8. Deleting social media, reading, meditating 15 minutes a day using Headspace, using pain as fuel to exercise intensely, encouraging myself to do things I love more often than before, and going out with friends. Story 9. I was in college, my girlfriend was actively cheating on me, and I felt really alone. But I ran a small business, so I had a little more money and time than most of my peers. It was late at night around Christmas. I called a friend and asked if we could make someone's wish come true. I went across the street to Walmart to the angel tree and sought out the most challenging angel I could find. A little girl who wanted a bike. My friend and I bought her a pink bike, helmet, knee and elbow pads, a bell, streamers, and more. We really decked this bike out for her. I then proceeded to ride it in the vacant Walmart. Security asked me to stop until my friend showed them the tag of why we had it. They gave me a couple more minutes to enjoy it. Since then, I've done angels every year as a thanks to the universe for always providing a way out of negative feelings. Story 10. My New Year's resolution is consistency. Every day I will make my bed, break my fast at 12, spend my study time outside of my apartment, work out for an hour, begin my fast at 8, and read a self-help book for 30 minutes each night, annotating it along the way. So far, my spirits have been high. I'm learning a lot about myself and finding new and healthier habits along the way. Story 11. Called my mom. And I know some people don't have that option. I've been almost admitted a couple of times, hit some major lows. My mother is absolutely amazing, and I'm so lucky to have her. When I'm so low I can barely function, she holds me while I cry, cooks when I don't have motivation, makes me eat when I don't feel like it, takes me to the doctor or pharmacy, and is just a solid rock in unstable times. We watch funny movies or shows, go on walks, or just get out of the house. We don't always get along. Honestly, I have been really bad to her in the past, but she's always been there for me, even if I don't deserve it. Story 12. My mother had just died. Then I caught my now ex-husband secretly recording our teenage daughter in the shower. It might sound crazy, but I ordered in for 3 months. The relief I felt from not having to cook really helped my mental health. Story 13. Realized that I was not that important, that my troubles were replicated by millions of other people in the world, and many of them were in far worse shape. Those moments of pragmatic clarity didn't instantly make things better, but they did make them bearable and gave me a perspective from which to improve. Before that, I just had this all-encompassing, I am doomed and the world hates me personally depression that lasted for years. This change of thought allowed me to stop thinking of myself as the victim and start thinking instead of solutions. Recovering alcoholics call it a moment of clarity, but this happened to me when I was in the middle of a deep episode of paranoia and depression long before I started drinking, when I was homeless. Story 14. Making friends, joining team sports, and reading books. Team sports create a family-like relationship with people who share the same interests so you can make more friends. Books provide an easy way to escape reality and enjoy your time in a fantasy world. Story 15. Started taking my bipolar disorder seriously. Started being honest with my psychiatrist to find the right medications. Started taking those medications regularly. Bipolar destroyed my life over and over again, episode by episode. Once I finally took accountability after I realized that it was affecting other people too, I started to see a difference in my life and perspective on life. Story 16. I prioritized myself. I began to take care of myself the way I would take care of any other loved one. It sunk in a lot when I had my daughter, as strange as that might sound. Juggling work, responsibilities, and motherhood was overwhelming, and I honestly got to the point where I realized my daughter was getting what was left of me at the end of the day instead of the best of me that she deserved. I also realized that after a childhood spent watching my mom struggle with her mental health and self-loathing, I didn't want my daughter to grow up seeing me the way I saw my mother. Not that my mother did anything wrong. She did her best, but it was hard to watch her going through it. I didn't want that for my girl. So, I might seem like a selfish parent for taking time out to take care of myself, but it's so much better for us both. You can't give what you don't have, so take time to recharge and be kind to yourself. Story 17. Be patient. Things get easier with time. At the moment, it might feel difficult to deal with everything, but over time, you will see that it's going to be all right. Story 18. When I am having a bad stretch, I go to a state park and relax for half a day. I walk the trails, sit and read, and just exist in a way that does not really require effort. It helps reset my brain. Story 19. Journaling. Every day, I wrote about what was bothering me and how I felt. At the end of the journal, I would force myself to list everything I'm grateful for. Story 20. I started exercising at the gym. Then on the days I wouldn't go to the gym, I started taking really warm baths in the evenings. Then I would follow that with a cold shower. It wasted a lot of water, but it seemed to calm me down and make me feel a little better. Story 21. After my dad died, I completely disconnected emotionally and mentally from the world. I lost myself in stories, either through books or immersive gaming. I couldn't handle being alone in my own head, and I found it easier to exist if someone else's narrative was overriding my own thoughts. Stories are powerful. They give us the ability to step outside ourselves and into someone else's life. I think that is why media, in all its forms, is so addictive to humanity. We need stories to escape ourselves. Coming back from being completely disassociated with reality wasn't easy, though. I still struggle with involuntary dissociative coping mechanisms. I've had to learn how to identify when it's happening, when I'm starting to disconnect, and stop it from spiraling before I completely check out. I no longer need other people's stories to do that, because I always have an alternate reality going on in my own head now. It's a safe place in my mind that I can disappear into sometimes to let myself breathe a bit before I try to come back to this whole life thing again. Story 22. Staying busy educating yourself through classes, push-ups, getting good at something, work extra hard. Everything you do right now will benefit you whenever you're in a capacity to constructively deal with it. Good luck. Story 23. Actually buckling down and doing the yoga, meditation, and positive affirmations. I had to go sober and had jaw pain and was single, so no substances, no boys, no comfort food. I was losing my mind, but made myself sit down, sit through the guided meditations, and go through the yoga videos. Story 24. talk to someone. It was very interesting to talk it out and discover that what I thought was bringing me down wasn't actually the root cause of my mental health plummeting. Story 25. Getting outside and walking a lot. The fresh air and time to myself did wonders. I also started using CBD oil after stopping antidepressants because I never liked the side effects, but I knew I needed something else because doing it on my own wasn't enough. Story 26. Giving up alcohol and getting back into riding bikes. Loved the freedom as a child. Fell in love with it again in my early 20s when I needed a healthier outlet. Story 27. I told myself if I did nothing else during my dark periods, I would go to the gym. After going to the gym 4 days a week for a while now, I can honestly say there is nothing better for one's mental health. You can let out anger there, you can push yourself past your mentally perceived limit. I've even cried on the furthest treadmill by myself. I listen to music there to clear my mind, audiobooks to distract, and I get to let out energy that's blocking me mentally and physically. Story 28. Isolate myself into coding. I made a huge written role-playing game which was on top number one of my niche for several years, just because I was fully focused on developing it. Story 29. Exercise. Reduce my social media consumption. Facebook on Fridays only. Weed out all the friends who bring nothing but toxicity to my surroundings, and listen to stand-up comedy. Also, I went to a psychiatrist when I lost patience with all the psychologists I saw who never pinpointed my anxiety issues. Story 30. I started volunteering a few days a week at the Humane Society walking the dogs. It always made me feel better. The older dogs really seemed to appreciate having someone spend time with them. Story 31. It's hard to put into words, but changing beliefs and outlook can be very powerful and get you through a bad time. I'm talking about, for example, seeing things in a more positive versus a negative way. The difference can be shocking. The problem is when you are having a mental health crisis, sometimes this isn't the easiest thing to do. The other thing is realizing that you can't control other people, you can only control yourself. Story 32. I was in a very privileged place in my life where I was able to drop everything, fall off the face of the earth, and return to my parents' home for a few months to pull myself back together. Story 33. Lost my dad, then my wife 4 months later. Spent the next 2 years volunteering for the local cat shelter where my wife worked. The cats and staff were amazing and an integral part of the healing process. Story 34. Learning to spend time with myself, sitting with my thoughts and feelings, writing them down, and eventually finding the courage to vocalize them with people around me who feel safe. I am still learning to be there for myself. Also, reminding myself that things are rarely the end of the world. I've been okay before, and I will be okay again. It might take a little time, but that's okay. I am willing to do that for myself because no one else is going to. Story 35. Meditate 10 minutes a day or every other day. It is hard. I usually listen to guided meditation. Take a break from social media every 3 months for a month. Exercise by walking or doing yoga. Really take time to play with my dogs, fetch, or a mini obstacle course. Story 36. When I'm trapped in my mind, I try to remember to take care of my body. That means forcing myself to eat a snack, shower, have a glass of water, or rest. I'm not always able to take my own advice when I'm spiraling, and my heart goes out to anyone who is in it right now. If you can't take care of yourself, let me tell you what to do. Go have a sip of water. Get some oxygen into your brain with 3 deep breaths. Have a small bite to eat. Splash some water on your forehead. These are physical changes that will have a physical reaction and give your brain juices a little more to work with. Story 37. Went to the gym. I was going through a lot of stress because of the job that I had at the time, and lifting weights was a good outlet to get that stress out. Story 38. I started taking weekly baths with fancy bath bombs. I would treat myself to whatever I wanted for dinner, light some candles, and put on a movie and just relax. Have some wine. Sometimes read a book instead of watching a movie. It was incredibly healing for me. Story 39. Sit outside with my fire pit and a coffee, just letting all thoughts fade away as I focused wholly on maintaining a nice warm fire and occasionally brewing a bit more coffee or tea. It really helped me shed the stress to have something so straightforward and simple to take up my attention. Story 40. Have a mantra. I'm not a religious person, but in my case, it was a prayer that spoke to me, reminding me that although I'm hurting and needing help, one day I will be the one to help others in need. The pain is temporary. Hang in there and take care of your physical health. Story 41. Treating myself like a 3-year-old. Congratulating myself and celebrating when I got out of bed, brushed my teeth, washed a dish, etc. It sounds silly, but it really helps me when I'm drained from my post-traumatic stress disorder. Story 42. Started going for long walks alone every day, sometimes 3 miles, occasionally 9 miles. I'd listen to music, podcasts, or just the sounds of nature and the city passing by. You don't have to have a destination in mind. Just head in a direction you know is safe and see where it takes you. When you feel like you've gone far enough and have the energy to walk back, turn around. I still incorporate this into my daily life. It's made a huge change. It's good for your mental and physical well-being.